Okay, so picture this. It's, Tuesday morning?
Mm-hmm.
You're rushing to a meeting. Your phone is just pinging constantly with notifications. You're trying to down a lukewarm coffee.
That's already sounding very familiar.
And you realize you haven't taken a proper deep breath in like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Unfortunately, yeah, that sounds like the default setting for most of us right now. We're just constantly on.
And in the middle of all that chaos, imagine just stopping, finding a park bench, sitting for 2 minutes, and doing nothing but breathing.
Radical.
It sounds so simple, but this deep dive argues that's actually a radical act. It's a rebellion.
It really is. And it's a perfect place to start for what we're unpacking today. We're looking at this fascinating 3-part audio series from a channel called Daily English Dive.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting for our listeners. This source, it's technically for English language learners. The hosts, Sophie and Jack, are teaching vocabulary. But underneath all that, they're having this profound, really well-structured conversation about the psychology of self-love, self-respect, and self-worth.
It's a bit of a Trojan horse, isn't it? You tune in for some idioms and you walk away with a masterclass in cognitive behavioral therapy.
Exactly. And honestly, the fact that it's for learners makes the psychology even better because they have to use these simple, crystal clear analogies.
Right. It strips away all the academic jargon.
Yeah, no big words. They just hit you with these really tangible images.
That is the beauty of it. So our mission today is to unpack these tools. We're going to look at how you move from being a people pleaser, which Jack, the co-host, totally admits to being, to having what they call unconditional self-worth.
We have a lot to get through. We're talking inner price tag, why boundaries are doors, not walls, and even the linguistics of self-respect.
Let's dive in.
So let's start with that first big idea, the inner price tag. Sophie, the host of the series, she just lays down this hard psychological truth right at the start.
What is it?
She says, the way you treat yourself teaches people how to treat you.
And that is a foundational concept. In behavioral psychology, they call it social signaling. We are constantly, broadcasting signals about our own value to everyone around us.
Social signaling. Can you break that down? Because I think a lot of us feel like we're hiding our insecurities, not broadcasting them.
Well, think of it this way. If you treat your time like it's cheap or free or just totally limitless, you're signaling to everyone that your time isn't valuable. You're basically putting a price tag on your own forehead.
And they use a really specific example from Jack's life. He talks about staying at work from 5:30 to 8:000 p.m. to help a colleague.
Okay.
Now, context is key here. Jack was tired. He'd finished his own work. He wanted to go see his mom. But the colleague asks, and he just goes, sure, no problem.
The classic people pleaser trap. And a people pleaser isn't just someone who's nice. It's someone who says yes because they're terrified of not being liked.
But hang on, isn't he just being a good guy?
Yeah.
A team player. If I say no, aren't I just being difficult?
That's exactly what Jack is worried about. He thinks he's being nice, but Sophie points out the cost. She calls it internal conflict.
An internal conflict.
Yeah. His mouth says yes, but his heart, his brain, everything inside is screaming no. And in that gap, that's where the damage is done. She tells him, you just put a 50% off sticker on your inner price tag.
Oof. 50% off sticker. That's a harsh visual.
It is harsh, but it's accurate. By staying late when he didn't want to, he was literally teaching his colleague that Jack's personal time doesn't matter. It's negotiable.
If you sell yourself at a discount,
people will buy you at a discount. Simple as that. The argument is you have to set the price yourself.
So to rip that 50% off sticker off, we need boundaries. But, and I really feel this, Jack's immediate worry is that setting a boundary makes him a jerk.
The brick wall idea.
Yeah, like he has to build this huge wall around his life.
Which is the biggest misconception. We think boundaries mean isolation, cutting people off. But the source gives a much better analogy. The door.
Okay, walk me through the door analogy.
A boundary isn't a wall, it's a door. And you're the gatekeeper. You're not keeping everyone out forever. You're just deciding who comes in, when they come in, and this is the most important part, what behavior is allowed inside.
So it's not about isolation, it's about regulation.
Exactly. If you have no door, anyone can just wander in with muddy shoes and leave a mess. But if you have a door, you can say, hey, come on in, but take your shoes off first.
I like that. But how do you actually say that to someone without sounding, I don't know, rude? They have a tool for this, right? The bud technique.
Yes, this is so good for anyone who feels guilty saying no. The formula is just, I am happy to help, BUT, And then you state your limit.
So in Jack's case, it would be,
Instead of just no, it would be, hey, I'm happy to help you with that report, but I can't do it after 5:00 p.m.
it's soft but firm.
Yeah.
You're still helpful, but you have limits.
It signals cooperation and self-respect at the same time. You're not rejecting the person, just the timing.
And here's the secret Sophie drops that I think is so crucial. She says, the people who get angry when you set a boundary are usually the ones who benefited from you having no boundaries.
That is a massive insight. It just shifts your whole perspective. If someone gets mad you won't stay late, it's not because you're unreasonable.
It's because they can't use your time for free anymore.
Exactly. You've just changed the contract, and they're annoyed they lost a perk. Setting that boundary is an act of standard setting. You're declaring you respect yourself enough to rest.
Standard setting. I like that framing. Okay, let's move on to the words we use. Jack mentions he apologizes constantly. Sorry, can I ask a question? Or even, sorry for existing.
This is what some linguists call low-power language. Sophie has a great term for it. She calls it shrinking.
Shrinking.
When you apologize for having normal needs, like asking a question, you are verbally making yourself smaller. You're signaling submission before you've even made your point.
That's such a vivid way to put it. You're trying to physically disappear so you don't bother anyone.
And it becomes a reflex, right? You apologize when someone bumps into you.
Oh, totally guilty. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
So how do we stop shrinking? They have the thank you flip.
This is a great actionable tool. The whole idea is to replace sorry with gratitude. So instead of sorry I'm late, which is all about your mistake.
You say thank you for waiting for me.
Exactly. Or instead of sorry to bother you, you say thank you for your time.
Think about the psychological shift there. When you say sorry, you're kind of burdening them with your guilt. But when you say thank you, you're highlighting their kindness.
You make them feel like a good person, and you stop being a burden. It completely changes the energy from negative to positive.
It's such a tiny switch, but it feels so much more powerful.
It's leadership, really, leading the conversation instead of apologizing for it.
Okay, let's get into the deep end now. Part 2 of their series is on unconditional self-worth. And this is where they hit the productivity trap.
Ah, yes. The idea that my self-worth equals my productivity. Jack admits he only feels worthy when he's finished his work or learned new vocabulary words.
A lazy day means his worth just plummets to zero. I think we've all been there. I didn't get enough done today, so I am garbage.
It's hustle culture.
Right.
But Sophie counters this with the $100 bill analogy. It's a classic, but for a good reason. She asks, if you take a $100 bill, crumple it up, throw it on the ground, stomp on it, what's it worth?
Still $100. You can still spend it.
Exactly. It's dirty, it's crumpled, but the value hasn't changed. Your worth is a fact. It's inherent. It's not a reward for being good or productive.
That is so hard to internalize, though, because we live in a world that just loves the external mirror.
The validation trap. Yeah, we're constantly looking to other people, our boss, social media likes, to tell us if we're okay. And Sophie says this creates fragility.
Because if that praise from the outside stops,
You crash. If the mirror breaks, you break. That's why they push for internal validation. Asking yourself, am I proud of my effort? Not, did my boss like the outcome?
becoming your own mirror. Okay, so we know we have value, but even a $100 bill is no use if you have zero energy. This brings us to the phone battery metaphor.
This is all about protecting your resources. You start the day 100%, but there are things they call battery thieves.
I love that term. So who are the thieves?
They name 3 main ones. First, doom scrolling, just looking at bad news or comparing yourself to people on Instagram.
Drains you fast.
Super fast. Second, one-sided friendships. You know, the people who talk at you for an hour but never once ask, so, how are you?
Ugh, the energy vampires. You walk away from that conversation feeling heavier.
Totally exhausted. That's a battery thief. And the third, maybe the most dangerous one, is negative self-talk.
Which leads us perfectly into the final section, the inner critic.
The roommate analogy. This was my favorite part. Sophie asks Jack, if you had a roommate who followed you around all day shouting, you're a failure, you're so stupid, would you let them live in your house?
And of course he says, no way, I'd kick them out, you'd call the police.
Right, but we let that voice live in our heads, rent-free, and we listen to it.
Why do we do that?
Well, it's important to note the inner critic isn't actually trying to destroy you. It's an old, evolved safety mechanism.
Like from tribal times.
Exactly. Back then, making a mistake could get you kicked out of the tribe, which meant death. So that nasty voice is trying to scare you into behaving correctly so you stay safe.
So it's like a misguided, hyper-anxious security guard.
Perfect analogy. But here's the myth. We think being mean to ourselves makes us work harder. We think, if I call myself lazy, I'll finally get off the couch.
And does it work? The science says absolutely not. Sophie explains that harsh self-criticism releases cortisol, the stress hormone. And cortisol puts your brain into fight or flight. It actually shuts down the creative, problem-solving part of your brain. Wait, so beating yourself up actually makes it harder to do the thing you want to do?
Yes, you are chemically disabling your ability to succeed. You're flooding the engine with sand and expecting it to go faster.
That's wild. So if we can't bully ourselves into improving, how do we evict this terrible roommate?
You use the friend test. It's a cognitive reframing tool. When you make a mistake, you just stop and ask, what would I say to my best friend if they did this?
Jack gives a great example. If his friend forgot an English word, he'd say, it's okay, you're learning, take your time.
But to himself?
To himself, he says, you're so stupid, why can't you remember?
The difference is just heartbreaking. The goal is to use the same script for yourself that you use for the people you love. You have to be the kind angel to yourself.
Use the same script. That seems so simple, but so hard. Now, as we wrap up, we have to touch on guilt and shame. They bring up Brené Brown here.
Yes, and the distinction they make is vital. Guilt is, I did something bad. It focuses on the action. And guilt can actually be useful, right? It helps us learn and apologize.
And
shame is, I am bad. It focuses on the person. It's destructive. It says you are fundamentally flawed. Sophie talks about putting down the backpack of guilt before it turns into shame.
And this leads to resilience. I like their basketball analogy here. Resilience isn't about never hitting the floor.
Right. A basketball hits the floor hard, but it uses that very impact to bounce back up. Resilience is the bounce. And the mantra they give for this is, I'm enough even while I am improving.
I am enough even while I am improving. That really bridges the gap. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You can be a work in progress and still be that $100 bill.
It allows for growth without self-hatred. It's such a balanced place to be.
So, quick recap. We started with the inner price tag.
If you put a discount sticker on yourself, the world will pay the discount price.
We talked about boundaries as doors, not walls.
And we talked about the linguistics of self-respect, flipping that sorry to a thank you.
We looked at the $100 bill of self-worth and identified those battery thieves draining our energy.
And finally, we learned to confront the inner critic with the friend test and defined resilience as the bounce. It's amazing how these simple analogies make the psychology stick so much better.
It really does. It just strips all the pretense away. So what's the biggest takeaway for you from all this?
I think for me, it's that self-love isn't a destination. You don't just arrive one day. It's a daily practice. It's a choice you make every day to check your price tag, audit your battery, and change that script in your head. It's work.
Absolutely. It's maintenance, like brushing your teeth. A necessity, not a luxury.
Exactly.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought from their series. It's a challenge they gave, and I think we should all take it, they asked. What is one thing you can forgive yourself for today?
That's powerful. It's that shift from I'm a mistake to I made a mistake and I am learning.
Just one thing. Maybe it's not being productive enough or conversation you messed up. Whatever it is, forgive yourself, bounce back, and remember, you're still worth the full $100. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Take care of yourselves.